Hey YouTube, today we're going to talk about a few different Smith & Wesson frame sizes, and I don't have every frame size here in front of us. I just wanted to mainly talk about these three, because these three are the ones that everybody seems to get confused with. And Smith & Wesson uses like a weird alphabet system that makes absolutely no sense to me why they do that. But I'm going to try and go over these three frame sizes for you, and the three revolvers I have here in front of me, I used all stainless ones, and I did that because they all look about the same at first glance. So what we have here, we have on top, we have the large end frame. This is a model 629, 44 Magnum. The middle one, we have the L frame. This one's a model 686 in 357 Magnum. And the bottom one, we have the K frame. That one is a Model 66, also in 357 Magnum. Before we go any further, I'm going to show you none of these revolvers have anything in them, and we are safe to make this video, and nobody can get hurt. Nobody's ever gotten hurt by watching a revolver video that I made. So we'll start with the smallest one. So this is a K-frame. This one happens to be a Model 66. This is a 66-2, and it is chambered in 357 Magnum. And this is what Smith people or Smith & Wesson considers the medium frame. So they have a smaller J frame that a lot of people use for concealed carry and everything like that. And they beefed up certain parts of it and everything. And like, I think it was 1957, and they made this K-frame, and they made it a Model 19, which was a carbon steel blue version, or I think you can get nickel also in them, but this one just happens to be a stainless one. And I'm going to show you a close-up right here. It clearly says Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum. So a lot of police forces and everything like to use this thing because it is absolutely an awesome size. It's really light, and it can handle 357 Magnums. Now, what a lot of people have said over the years, and a lot of internet experts and all that, and this one I'm going to actually believe, folks, is that if you take a steady diet of 357 Magnum and feed it through this thing at a normal pace, you can cause problems. And if you look real close, this forcing cone here is kind of shaved off really close. This gun's dirty, by the way, but excuse that. But this forcing cones are really thin right here. And if you 357 Magnum is a very high pressure cartridge. I mean, it is super high pressure, and it's a very powerful thing, powerful cartridge. And this small frame cannot handle a steady diet all day, every day of 357 Magnum. So what they recommended, they being Smith & Wesson, was the police forces that were carrying this thing was to practice with your 38 specials, and then when you carry the thing, carry 357 Magnums in it. And yes, it's not going to break if you shoot one 357 Magnum through it, folks. It's just not as strong of a weapon as some of the ones we were going to look at. I actually had a viewer, when I showed this gun off a little while ago, he said that he bought one of these things brand new, and this whole top strap cracked on him. Now, I have to believe everything everybody tells me until they prove me wrong, and I don't think I would have had any reason to lie or anything, but he said it was weak, and Smith & Wesson back in the day actually replaced the gun instead of repairing it. But this is the medium frame, what they call this is the K frame. This one happens to be a Model 66-2 chambered in 357 Magnum. The next one we're going to move up to, this is what they call the L frame, and I'll show you this one's not loaded right here. Now, the reason this one exists is because of the one I just showed you. So people were wanting a gun that would handle a steady load of 357 Magnum you could shoot day in and day out, and this is what led to the development of this. This gun came out in 1980. This is the L frame, and it featured a full underlug underneath, and I think the frame is like 20% bigger or 10% bigger than the actual K-frame that I just showed you. And if you look on the inside here, and the forcing cone is quite a bit bigger on this L frame than it is on the K frame. And this gun will take a heavy diet of 357 Magnum. You can shoot them all day, every day, and twice on Sunday, folks. This gun was made to compete with the I-frame Colts, which is the most famously known as the Colt Python, and it resembles it very closely because of this full underlug. If you look right on the side of this barrel, you'll see clear as day it says 357 Magnum, but it's quite a bit heavier duty looking than the K-frame. Now, if you look at them side by side, at first glance, they're similar looking, but you start noticing some of the differences. This cylinder is a lot smaller. It's got a lot smaller diameter. This lug only goes halfway down this 4-inch barrel, and the inside, the distance between each round in the cylinder is quite a bit of difference in this one and this L frame. This L frame has a lot beefier cylinder and can take a lot more 357 Magnums. Now, I'm not saying either one of these are bad guns, folks, but I'm just telling you the facts that this frame is not quite as strong because there's not quite as much metal in this frame than there is in the L frame, and that is the entire reason that this L frame even exists. And I love these 4-inch revolvers. This is my favorite configuration, is the 4-inch ones. Now, moving on up here, get a little bit bigger. This is the end frame, folks. This is a 44 Magnum. This is a big boy here. Now, they do have a bigger frame now. In the new modern times, they have the big X frame that holds the big 500 Magnum and those large calibers. But see, this says 44 Magnum. But this was the largest frame that Smith & Wesson made until modern times, which is the 2000s. And there has been some writers and everything that said that this L frame here was just a an N frame with smaller grips on it, and that's not true, folks. If you look at these guns side by side, there's a distinct difference. If you look right here where the crane rocks down, look how much beefier the N frame is on top, the larger frame. Everything about this gun's bigger, the cylinder and everything. Now, they make these N frames in 357 Magnum also, and to let you know how big a size difference it is, if you get like a Model 27 or something like that, the gap between here, the cylinder, and the crane is huge because the cylinder is not as big. But it has to look like, it almost looks weird, and it has to look like that for you to put that small of a caliber, which I'm not saying 357 is a small caliber, but it is for that frame, into that big old frame. And no, the grips won't line up. They won't interchange because this frame is larger in every way. So if you look at these two grips side by side, the grips are huge next to the other one. The whole gun is huge next to it. So the writer that wrote that the L frame was just a N frame with a different small set of grips on it, he was incorrect. Whoever that was, somebody made a comment and they quoted who it was that wrote that in a gun magazine, and that's just not correct. So to recap everything, you have the largest frame here, besides the X frame, folks. I understand that. We're talking about the 3 middle frames here. This is the largest one, and this one's a 629 chambered in 44 Magnum. This is the largest frame that Smith & Wesson had until modern times when they made their X frame. Then you're going to have your, what they call the large medium frame. This is going to be your L frame. Example I have here is a 686. This is a medium large frame. And then you have your medium frame here. This is a model 66. And the reason that the middle one exists is because of the weaknesses that Smith & Wesson realized in this small K-frame here. These are great guns, folks. I'm not saying anything about it. I own this one. I would not have it if it was a bad gun. It's just a smaller frame, and you cannot absolutely all day, every day load heavy, high pressure 357 Magnums through it. Yes, going to the range and shooting a box of 357 Magnums is not going to break this gun in half. That's not what we're saying here, but steady diet over time, it's possible you can damage it, but everything's possible, folks, in life. This one is a lot less unlikely that you're gonna harm this one, because this thing is beefed up, and this was designed because of the problems that this one had with strength. And this one is just the biggest one of all of them. This one, I don't think you're gonna hurt it at all. This is the largest one, and this one handles a steady diet of 44 Magnums. And folks, there are guns out there that are a lot bigger than this one. And I happen to own a couple that are a lot bigger than this one, a lot more beefier. But this is a pretty beefy gun here. This one's really cool with the full underlug. The actual normal configuration of these large end frames don't even have this full underlug on them. This one just happens to be sort of a unusual, not so common end frame here, because this one has an actual 6-inch barrel instead of a 6.5, and it has a full underlug, and it has the unfluted cylinder on it. But anyway, folks, I just want to give you a quick rundown of these 3 frame sizes, and a lot of people get these confused. So your largest one's your N, your middle one's your L, and the one below that is going to be the K frame. But if you have any questions on any of these facts that I went over with you, or any of these frame sizes, I'm not a Smith & Wesson expert by far, folks. I just like to pass on the information that I learned when I learned it. But anyway, folks, thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.